notice a few things. Number one, the comments from my last Gypsy video that I did last Sunday, about a week ago. It's one thing to not agree with what I'm saying, right? Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. But it's another when you start bashing my looks, my weight, my race, calling me the N-word, my lip gloss. What the fuck does my lip gloss have to do with my opinion? Maybe you like watching people with chapped, ashy, cracked lips, but I don't. Bashing my intelligence, questioning my own attack, and this last one, this is when I knew I have special people watching me. My abuser didn't get it right. So, to the people who did that, I just want to let you know that you are going to have a tough time in life if you haven't already. Because if you can learn how to articulate your words, feelings, and emotions without being disrespectful, again, you are going to have a hard life ahead of you, because not everyone is going to agree with you, and not everyone's going to agree with me. And that's that. Number two, a lot of people in my comment section was stating that, this was self-defense. Nope. I am not buying that one either. Absolutely not. Because if we're going to play these Gypsy games, if we're going to call this self-defense, then we have a lot of cases we need to retry. Oh yes, there's a lot of cases we need to brush off and look at again. Self-defense, let me explain something to you, right? From the U.S. No, this is good. From the U.S. Department of Justice, right? It states, battered women who have been relying on self-defense as a justification for their actions are often successful in their defense. However, the traditional formation and interpretations of the requirements of the law of self-defense means that self-defense pleas are likely to be unsuccessful in many situations. Women who killed their abusers or batterers during an acute battering incident will be able to meet the requirements of self-defense standard, which means if you have a husband that is abusing you, and in that moment when he is physically abusing you and you get something to kill him, that is self-defense. Your husband was beating you to a pole. You grabbed a weapon and you defended yourself. That resulted in, a murder. That is self-defense. However, a claim of self-defense is unlikely to be successful if the person, the abuser, was asleep or when his back was turned. So what you can't do is shoot your abuser while he's on the couch sleep. That is not self-defense at all. So when we're using words like this, no, 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 no. These women cannot necessarily show they were faced with an intimate threat or death or seriously bodily harm, right? Because the first thing someone's gonna say to you was, well, they were asleep. How are you in danger at that prompt moment? Now, if I remember correctly, Dee Dee, Gypsy's mother, was stabbed in her sleep. Self-defense. And if I remember correctly, they were watching a fucking movie before they went to bed. Self-defense. Alright, and then it says when a battered woman cannot use the self-defense plea, it's best to use the insanity defense. Abso-fucking-lutely. If Gypsy came on the scene and said, I snapped, none of us will be having this conversation right now. Not a one. Nobody would be having this conversation now. If she said she snapped with all the years of the abuse and unnecessary, surgeries and procedures and medication, no one would think twice. You snapped. We get it. We all would get it. But see, it's when you say shit like, I had no other choice. This was my only way out. No, no, no. Again, I'd rather you say you fucking snapped, you had enough, and you snapped. That would have been enough for everyone. I'm pretty sure that would be enough. So, now, somebody else went ahead and said, well, you know what? None of us can say, what we would do in that situation. We weren't her. We weren't in her shoes. We weren't in her situations. Well, you know what? You're right. Because everyone abuse is different, right? So let's just say me being an abused woman wasn't good enough, right? Somebody mentioned a case in my comments, right? And I need everyone, either you stop right now, pause the video, and go Google it, or look it up after you watch this video. The Turpin children case. The Turpin children case, right? I'm not going into the case in details, right? But real quickly, parents had 13 children. 13 real religious parents. We already know how that goes. Real religious, right? 13 children. They abused every single one of them. So, when one of the children overheard their parents stating that they were going to relocate the children, they got scared and knew they had to do something. They also feared their parents, but one snuck out the room, snuck through a window late at night, and ran to get some help, right? When the cops got there, when they went inside the house, they encountered the stench of human shit, decaying garbage, dead pets, and moldy food, with every surface covered in trash. Later, they found the other 12 children. One had been shackled to watch the series, and not only am I not changing my mind, this series right here kind of proved a lot of my points. And then it also made me realize that our entire family is just fucked up. And then it also made me realize and question, why are we not going after some of these doctors, right? Why not? I'm confused. Because some of these doctors really need to be questioned. So, episode 1 is called Born a Prisoner. And before we begin, I just want to say again, because I think people are getting it twisted, what Gypsy went through is fucked up. No one is denying that. No one is questioning whether she was a victim or not. No one is questioning the lengths or the levels of abuse that she endured by the hands of her mother. No one is questioning that at all. And that's not what the first video was about. It was about praising this young lady, putting her on social media, putting her on a fucking pedestal, the celebrity, the red carpet rollout. What the fuck? Like, again, did we not understand the whole scenario of what happened? Again, what happened to her is fucked up. But what we're not gonna do is sit here and say, well, I had no other way out. But you did. So the episode of this whole TV series, right, takes place in prison, and we are informed that in 48 hours she will be talking to the appeal board, right, her parole hearing, whatever you want to call it. And as we know, it went well. She got paroled, and she got out of prison, and that's that. So, this is a quote that Gypsy said herself, and I will leave it to you guys to interpret how you want it. My mother taught me how to lie and manipulate. But that doesn't make me who I am. And I can learn. She's 32, by the way. I can learn how to tell the truth. Okay. So, Dr. Rob Steele is Gypsy's doctor from when she was 14. He was her pediatrician, and he's the one actually speaking from the medical standpoint in this TV series. And then the producers actually come with a big file of medical records that Dr. Steele has never seen before. But he is actually in the show breaking down all the medical stuff. And what I found interesting is he says that he feels as if Dee Dee's Munchausen by proxy started before Gypsy was 1 year old. If you look at Gypsy's baby pictures, you can clearly see that there's something wrong with one of her eyes, whether you want to call it a lazy eye, cross-eyed, whatever the condition that she had, it had to be corrected by a certain time, or Gypsy would become legally blind. And so when people heard this, and this is actually true, when people heard this, they were like, oh my god, your baby blind before she's 1. So he thinks that when she got the sympathy for that, she kind of, liked it. Then, as per Dee Dee's brother, he lets us know that Dee Dee was actually a nurse assistant, very, very bright, and he remembers Dee Dee always being in the medical book saying, her mother took her out of school because she was afraid. Dee Dee was afraid that the school would not give Gypsy her medication, so she pulled her and kept her home. Was supposed to be homeschooled, but that didn't happen. So because Dee Dee had to go to work, Gypsy spent a lot of time with her grandfather. And in this next scenario, Gypsy's grandfather was watching her. They were on a bike or something, whatever it was. She fell off. She only had some scrapes and scratches on her leg. Of course, when her mother saw this, she freaked out. Scratches, scrapes, you know what kids do when they fall. Next thing Gypsy knows is that she is in a full leg brace. Then after the leg brace came the wheelchair. So from the age of 5, that's how the wheelchair came about, from her falling off a bike. It was either her grandfather's motorcycle or something. They weren't like on a highway or anything. She was either sitting on it or something, but fell off. So from cuts and scratches, we went from a leg brace to the wheelchair. And the wheelchair was supposed to only be for a week. It went from a week to a month to years. But Gypsy admits from the age of 5, when this happened, she was fully aware that she was capable of walking. Now, the family found out that Gypsy actually can walk because Gypsy had a birthday party. I guess she was turning 6 at a birthday party, right? Gypsy's mom, Dee Dee, went out to get the birthday cake. While Dee Dee was out, Gypsy is inside the house watching the kids jump up and down on the trampoline. She wanted to go. She asked her grandfather, "Can she go?" He's like, "Sure." She got up a little too quickly from that wheelchair, and of course the grandfather was like, "You can walk." So anyway, he helped her into the trampoline. Gypsy's having fun jumping up and down the trampoline. Well, Dee Dee comes back, and Dee Dee is like, "Do you not know she's a crippled?" "Oh no, you didn't." She ran to Gypsy, picked up Gypsy, scooped her up, brought her back inside the house, and remember, this was Gypsy's birthday party. After Dee Dee brought her in the house, no one saw her for the rest of the day. So that's when the family found out that Gypsy can walk. Now, she wants to state, this is the part in the show that she stops and wants to let us know her best memory. Her best memory she has in her life, in her entire life, is the day she got to prison. The very first day she got to prison, and she got to go out to the picnic tables. She smiles, she looks up and says, "I'm free. I'm free to have friends. I'm free to do whatever I want." It might be in a controlled environment, but this is nice. Giggles and smiles. Then she starts laughing. What? It's such a good memory. And this is someone that we're saying actually regrets what happened to her mom. Just asking the question. Now let's jump to the age of 8. Gypsy is now 8 years old, and Dee Dee needs more attention. So Dee Dee then hits the family that Gypsy has leukemia. And so, because they did not believe her because of the wheelchair incident, they were not believing her. So Dee Dee had to make a point, and that's when she decided to shave Gypsy's hair off to make a point. Now, this part here, this is the first doctor that I feel as if should be up for charges. Now, Gypsy is still 8. Dee Dee walks into a doctor's office and tells them that Gypsy is goes to her grandfather's once again. And I just okay. So Gypsy is staying with her grandfather. This is when Granddad realizes that Gypsy can eat, because while he's watching her, she's at the dinner table, she's eating McDonald's, anything that they cook, candy, like she's eating anything. And that's when the grandfather realized, and Gypsy too realized, that she did not need that feeding tube. That was all Dee Dee. Now, since we're on the topic of her grandfather, this is where Gypsy lets us know that her grandfather has been S.A.ing her or R-ing her since the time she was 4 years old. From the time she was 4 till 9 years old, he has been messing with her. She states, "We touched each other. He touched me. I touched him. He would bring me to his basement, which he considered his workshop." And then, of course, Grandpa did this famous, don't tell nobody. This is our little secret. You don't want me to get in trouble, And of course, anyone at that age of 4, she didn't know what she was doing. She didn't know this was bad. If they cut the cameras there, right, you would have 3 groups of people. You would have one group that believed exactly what Gypsy said. And then you had the other group that would say, you know what, she's a liar. Then you had the third group, like, In this case, I absolutely believe Gypsy. You want to know why? Because see, after she told her story, you would think Grandpa would stay fucking quiet. No, he didn't. He decided to come on camera. The producers asked him about this. He said, no, never, never. Then he got quiet and said, she was the one touching me. What'd you just say? Then he was like, yeah, I would tell her, stop that, don't do that. He said, but no, it was her, it was all her, it was all her. Yeah, okay, by the way, the family is actually torn on that one, and it's really sad if your own family is torn about whether, your grandfather actually, is doing shit like that. Anyway, Gypsy's mom gets out of the hospital. They move in with their grandfather. Even after the fact that Gypsy told Dee Dee what happened, they still moved in with their grandfather. One day, Gypsy made a comment like, "Oh, she looked at something called roundups, what are I guess pills or something that you give, or some type of medicine that you give to weeds outside to kill them, but I guess they come in like capsule form or something." Gypsy looked over and was like, "Oh yeah, those are the vitamins that Mom be giving Laura, who was Grandpa's wife at the time. She be giving those to Laura, with her food when you're at work, Grandpa." Next thing you know, Grandpa asked the two to leave, and that concludes shower together, all of it, everything was as one. When she got her period at the age of 13, her mother told her to use a diaper, and that was it. Did not give her an explanation on why it comes once a month, none of it. Just put that diaper on in the corner and go to bed. Oh, and she did not learn about tampons until she was in prison. It's like her mother was trying to keep her young, you know. Hurricane Katrina hit. They ended up staying in a shelter for a month and a half. Lost everything. This is where they meet Dr. Steele, you know, the doctor in the beginning who's breaking all this shit down. This is where he officially meets Dee Dee and Gypsy. His first impression was that Dee Dee was a loving, caring mother. Gypsy was just as pleasant. He did, however, say that, you know, anytime Gypsy referenced something, it was always Disney. She always dressed in costumes and wigs and stuff like that, and she always spoke in a baby voice, like she was in kindergarten. And by now, Gypsy is 14 years old. Gypsy also made it clear, Dee Dee also made it clear that Gypsy had leukemia, asthma, and a muscle disorder, and she had no records to show for any of it because everything was lost in Hurricane Katrina. So Dr. Steele understood all that, but the main thing he took out of that was, oh my god, Gypsy has leukemia. We have to, you know, get her help right away. So when Dr. Steele started asking Dee Dee questions in regards to Gypsy's leukemia, she couldn't give the exact diagnosis. Like, you just can't say leukemia, right? It's just more to that. But she couldn't answer any more questions after the word leukemia. She couldn't answer the length of treatment, the medicine she was on, or the pharmacy that she used to use. Absolutely nothing. So again, this doctor became a little suspicious, right? By the way, they are in Missouri. Now, still at 14, we meet Dr. Bernardo Flasterstein. He is a pediatric neurologist. Says that Dee Dee came in with multiple medical conditions for Gypsy, but he mentioned he wasn't sure if Dee Dee wasn't willing to give information or was not able to provide information or details in regards to anything that he said that Gypsy had. And so, since he had nothing to go by, he ran his own test and everything came back normal. Remember, this is a pediatric neurologist. He did an MRI, a CAT scan, blood work. Everything came back perfect and beyond. So the doctor was confused. The doctor asked Gypsy to stand up. She did. He was more happy that the girl could walk and that she was healthy, and not even realizing that, you know, something was wrong. But the moment Dee Dee saw that Gypsy got up, this doctor said that Dee Dee was furious and just stormed out. Because at one point, like he said, he thought that maybe, you know, a doctor gave her misinformation or something. But the way she acted, he actually put in his notes, Munchausen by proxy. The question stands, why didn't you report it? His answer, you can't report something on suspicion. Have to prove mom was actually doing this. So I understand his point, right? In his eyes, she was completely healthy, Gypsy. And how do you prove that the mother, is she lying, or did she get misinformation, or, you know? So for him, he's like, what do I report? What do I report? That a mother his office, healthy as a button. And so I just want to point this out that Gypsy has no memory of any of this happening. She doesn't remember going to this doctor. She doesn't remember the doctor himself. She doesn't remember a doctor asking her to get up, and she did. She don't remember none of that. So now we're 16. We have a new doctor. Ears, nose, and throat doctor. And she went to this doctor to complain about Gypsy's excessive drooling, to prove that Gypsy actually had cerebral palsy. So I think that's what she was going for the pediatric neurologist, which is why he did his own test, and it proved that, she was perfectly happy. And so this excessive drooling, I guess she googled and found that was the most common side effect. And so she would put oral gel on Gypsy's lips, and so she would drool more again, what happened to Gypsy is fucked up, but are we gonna sit here and does she not really know that she was not 18? Like, how are you 14? But all this time you have your period. Like, okay, so, and I know people are saying, oh, well, she wasn't educated. Bullshit. Have you seen Gypsy talk? Even when she was arrested, she was a very intelligent girl, and Dee Dee was not stupid. And I'm telling you like this, I don't know what education they had going on in the house, but whatever Dee Dee did, she did that shit correct. Okay? Gypsy was no fool. But anyway, the father found that strange that the mother is saying, shh, she's 14. The mother out here buying a cake, buying candles that says 1 for girl bye. Now, of course, he thought now he knew there was a problem, but the father kept calling Dee Dee and his daughter after the fact. And after he called to wish her a happy birthday, he did not hear from his daughter until she was in prison. So the mother made sure that, she had no contact with anyone. Moving on. So then we go to one of the charities gave Gypsy a laptop. Mom thought that she was only doing Disney shit and kid shit. Absolutely not. So this is my problem, right? So you didn't know you were actually 18, right? But you were able to hop on laptop and everything else and make up a Facebook account, make up aliases, have friends, because anybody that doesn't know Wi-Fi or like the computer, right? How do you know anything about Facebook? How do you know how to work it? How would you figure that out? So when so then Gypsy goes to a sci-fi convention, and that's when she meets her first friend, Dan. They bump heads, they bump into one another. I don't know. They exchange whatever they exchanged, and then Dan found her on Facebook, right? Now at this prompt moment, Gypsy is 15, 19, and I'm saying that because I guess Dee Dee wanted her to think she's 15, but she's actually 19. So when you hear me do it that way, that's the reason why. So as of now, she is 15. wakes up, finds Gypsy's note. And by the way, Gypsy, when she left at 2 o'clock in the morning, she decided to leave her cell phone and take Dee Dee's cell phone instead. Well, Dee Dee found Gypsy's cell phone, went through the messages, found out where Gypsy is, and guess where Dee Dee is heading now. And that ends episode 2. So, episode 3 is called I Pulled the Trigger. Now, 1 and 2, right? I am feeling for Gypsy. I am just like, damn, you went through all of that. Unnecessary doctor's appointments, medications, surgeries. But episode 3 is where my feelings start to shift a little bit. It absolutely does. And y'all here for the truth. Damn it, episode 3, I started to shift. If Gypsy wanted me to have any sympathy, she had it from me. But in episode 3, besides what her mother put her through, I'm definitely shifting. So, Dee Dee is now at Dan's friend's house. She finds Gypsy in the bed with Dan. She's furious. Before Dee Dee can say anything, Gypsy's like, well, I know I'm 19, I'm an adult, I can be here, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, Dee Dee manipulates Gypsy into coming back by saying shit like, well, if you come back, I will allow you to date Dan. And she's like, for real, honestly, I have to say this, if Dan was not such a loser, I absolutely believe that Gypsy would not have gone back with her mom. I repeat, if Dan was not a loser, I do not believe that Gypsy would have went back with her mother. Right? But she did. Along the way, Dee Dee was able to present a birth certificate proving that Gypsy's really 15. I don't know. Gypsy believed it. Dee Dee made her take a pregnancy test. Of course, that was negative. Then when they got back home from her first runaway, Dee Dee smashed the cell phone, the laptop, and this is where Dee Dee handcuffed her. I know a lot of people are saying that she was chained to the bed. She was not. As per Gypsy, she said that her mom handcuffed her to the bed and then handcuffed her to her mom. There was a dog collar put on her so Dee Dee can hear anytime she would move or anything else. So she was either handcuffed to the bed or handcuffed or chained to her mother as she walked around the house. So Gypsy was never really allowed to completely be by herself. And I also want to make it very, very clear that Dee Dee never put her hands on Gypsy until she ran away. So there was physical abuse because of the procedures she went through, right? But Dee Dee herself never put her hands on Gypsy until this moment. And right now, like I said, she's 15, 19. So there was no beating by her hand or any like that until now. This is when we really realize that Dee Dee is controlling but dependent, and Dee Dee understands now that she's losing control because see, now Gypsy is she's figuring out shit, she's finding shit. Now she's having the courage to leave at 2 o'clock in the morning and to hitchhike and to go meet Dan. So are we still doing this she was fearful situation? I'm just asking. Are we still doing she was fearful for her life? She was scared to death. Because someone who's scared to death wouldn't run, but she ran the first time. is where Didi put a voodoo hex on Gypsy by taking a picture of her and Dan and a cow tongue with Gypsy's period blood and buried it in the backyard. Then this is where I almost lost it. I kid you not. This is where I'm like, oh girl, oh okay. So after the whole voodoo hex thing, she's sitting there explaining what the mother did as far as like burying all that shit in the backyard. Then she starts to, she is trying to cry. She's trying, and she's doing this, you know, and what are you wiping? Not one tear came out. She was really, oh my god, and I don't, what are you looking at? What are you, stop. She was trying, and she's like, I'll never be happy. I'll never find love. Nobody will ever want me. I mean, she's going for it, y'all. She is going for it. I'll never be happy. I'll never find true love. I'm saying to myself, if anyone was watching this and then walked out when she said that, I can see where everybody would have this sympathy. Oh my god. Girl, bye. You're saying that you don't know if you're gonna find happiness, but you're fucking married. Yo, what the fuck? She is married. Yo. She's married. She's fucking married. She's married. You're married, but now trying to gain the sympathy like I'll never find love, but you did. You did. Nope. We're still 19. So Gypsy decides that she wants to run again, right? Are we still doing the fearful thing? Just asking. She wants to run again, so she packs a bag and she hides it under the couch. Now, I don't know if Gypsy was acting a little different or weird, but Didi figured it out and actually found Gypsy's bag under the couch. So now it is Gypsy and Didi in the hall battling out. Didi goes, oh, so you were going to leave me? You were going to try that shit again, huh? So, of course, Gypsy was terrified. What she said, she was terrified. Okay, I'll give her that. And then she sees the gun on the kitchen counter. She goes and she grabs it, and her words, not mine, she squeezed or pulled that trigger as many times as she can. Boom, 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 boom. As many times as you can, right? Let's stop there for a second. So when you hear that story, right, and then you see her like 6 days ago on, I think, I'm not even sure what interview it was, right, but you're online for the whole world to see and telling people or explaining to people why you are not a murderer, and then you proceed to say, well, I could never do something like that. I could never harm anyone. I could never do this. I don't have that in me to kill anyone. That's why Nick is in prison. See, it's shit like that when you say shit like that, because you know what? You had no problem grabbing that gun and pulling the trigger So yeah, no, And so of course we find out that the gun was not really a gun, it was a BB gun. But the point is that she grabbed it and she pulled it, not once, not twice, but she let loose that bitch. So Gypsy and Dee Dee start arguing. They go back and forth. Dee Dee gets treated in the ER for the BB gun wounds. And of course, when you go to the hospital, anything gun-ish, they have to report to the police. So Dee Dee told the police that she was robbed in a Walmart parking lot for not giving up her wallet. Now, somehow or another, Gypsy gets back online. I don't know how. I actually rewinded it to say, okay, well, did she get a new laptop, whatever. I don't know how she got back online, but she did. And she made another Facebook talking to more friends. So again, when we say that Gypsy was scared, well, clearly she was not that scared, because someone who's scared would not keep doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, you know. So she had the balls to keep doing that. She had the balls to leave twice. She had the balls to, you know, hop back online no matter how many times she got caught, because she got caught a lot, but it didn't stop her. And so this is where we meet Nick. Now, one of her friends told her, you know what, why don't you try ChristianDating.com? And so when people say she was in prison, she had nowhere to turn, she had no one to talk to, she didn't know what to do, get the fuck out of here. You were able to do Facebook, and now you're on a Christian dating site. Now we have time to date, but we don't have time to get help. Come, when are we? Really? Now I'm gonna ask y'all, are y'all serious? You wanna know if I'm serious? Are y'all serious? Really? That's what we're doing. Okay. So let's talk about Nick, because I have to say, watching this documentary, my feelings for Nick definitely changed. So real quickly, Nick definitely had a low IQ. As per Nick and his father, Nick has been in special ed from the time he was in kindergarten, from the time he graduated from high school. And then someone mentioned that, you know, Nick had a violent criminal record. That's not true. That's absolutely not true. That's what I'm saying. A lot of people make comments and don't know what the hell they're talking about. Nick did have a record with the police. He was actually arrested in McDonald's for watching porn while he masturbated in the corner. Now, I'm not saying that shit is cute, but that's not a violent crime. He didn't harm anybody. So now we're considering watching porn a violent crime. Get the fuck out of here. Right? So people can sit there and try to, you know, nope, it was watching porn. But I have to say though, Nick is a little bit sicker than I thought. So now in this part, I absolutely do not believe Gypsy says that after she got with Nick, when she found him on the Christian dating was refusing to take her meds. More rebelling. And so again, now you are refusing to take your meds. So you are not that fearful from your mom that you rebelled against her, saying, I'm not taking that, and I'm not doing that, and I don't care. So now, are we still doing their fearful situation? I need to know. She was terrified. She was scared for her life. Again, are we still doing that? Because see, the last procedure that I understand that was happening, that happened to Gypsy, was when she was 16 years old, right? Gypsy went to jail when she was 23, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 7 years. 7 years. She did not take medication. She didn't have any more procedures. She didn't do anything like that. So for 7 years, all you did was argue with your mom and this and that, and you couldn't go out, blah blah blah, but you weren't taking your medication. You were no longer going to doctor's appointments and this and that. So am I the only one not seeing this? Okay, so Gypsy decides to tell Nick everything. Now this is a second person. She told Dan everything, and now you're telling Nick everything. So, and the crazy thing about it is, this is when Gypsy's father hops on and says, you know what, I have no idea why she didn't call me. So you rather tell Dan and Nick about what's going on with you and your mother, but you're not telling the people that actually can do something about it. Like, make that shit make sense. So you claim that you were really close to your stepmom, the one that your father remarried. Your father's out there looking for you, even if, I don't know, even if like you really needed help, you could have called your grandfather, although what he did, but you were trying to get help, right? So it wasn't like you were completely alone. And then on top of that too, Gypsy had this friend in the neighborhood that used to come by all the time, and Gypsy used to be so jealous of her because the girl would come over and tell about her weekend and her having boyfriends and stuff like that. So somebody actually came to the house often. So again, it's not like Gypsy didn't have any friends. So you had the girl in the neighborhood, you had Dan, now you have Nick, and you could have reached out, and you had her phone. You have a phone for everything else, but you could not pick up the phone and call your father. Is that what we're doing? Okay. I just need to make sure we all have the facts here. So again, the father could not understand why she did not feel comfortable to tell the people that could actually do something. 3 months into the relationship, she realizes that Nick was different. Always had to say a phrase before they hung up the phone, or he would get verbally abusive. It would go, I love and adore you, my king charming. Good night. Then Nick admitted to her that he had a BDSM fetish. He was very sexual, craved it, needed it. So this man is telling you that he has a BDSM fetish. And I'm pretty sure you Googled that shit. This is 3 months afterwards. I'm pretty sure you Googled that. You saw what it meant. You did nothing. And then she goes, he was the one manipulating the entire relationship. And after she said that, she goes, he was a disturbed person that lives inside his own fantasy world and didn't want to acknowledge the difference between right and wrong. Okay, see, what we're not gonna do is make fun of Nick mentioned a billion times. She don't know if there is a happy ending for her. Once she said that shit again, let's just say I'm lucky I live by myself. What the fuck? When she said that again, and y'all, she had more fake tears. She was trying. I mean, she was trying as hard as she could. Nothing came out. Nothing. And the one that I thought was coming out never dropped. It never fucking dropped. Absolutely not. I had to Google this shit. Because I had to make sure I wasn't tripping. And I was absolutely correct. Gypsy has been married since 2022. You are sitting here on the fucking camera crying, talking about, I don't know if I'll find happiness. Bitch, you've had more men in prison than I have had in my entire life. Gypsy is getting more ass than I have seen in my entire life. You hear me? She had 250 men write to her in prison. You hear me? 250 men, and I can't get one decent one to write me a goddamn thing, right? And then you have been engaged, I think once or twice since you've been locked up, and now you are married, also locked up, and here you are with your fucking fake fucking tears, trying to squeeze one out, trying to get the sympathy of the world. Again, what Gypsy went through as a child was fucked up, but now we are an adult. Now we are 32 years old telling the story, and here you are trying to manipulate the entire world who watches this feed. Why? Why? And you know, and again, and then I said to myself, well, maybe I read that wrong. Maybe it said 2023 and they're just married, or maybe they didn't get married until, and maybe after the interview. Nope, I went back. They were married from May 2022. And then she went into, I can't find happiness because everyone leaves me. That's not true. Who the fuck left you? Who left you? Who left you? Your father didn't leave you. Your father left your mother. And then let's talk about, like, your grandfather. Well, your grandfather wasn't a good man anyway, but the fact that Dee Dee tried to murder your grandfather's wife, so that was also Dee Dee's fault. And then you met Dan, but then Dee Dee came to get you from Dan. And then, so again, who left you? Who the fuck left you? Matter of fact, if anything, people were trying to find you. So, cut the shit. So then we are now, let's fast forward, we are now 23 years old. Cinderella Gypsy starts planning Dee Dee's death. Now we are at episode 4, called Only Way Out. If you haven't noticed that I was damn near done in episode 3, but I was definitely done by episode 4. I kid you not. So we left off episode 3. This is where, the whole movie theater situation happened. Gypsy is now planning her mother's death. Just me saying that out loud it's creepy. But Gypsy is planning her mom's death. Now she admits by now she knew she was perfectly healthy and trusted nothing her mom said. So 3 more years went by. I just don't get it when people say she was fearful and this and that. How are you fearful if you are rebelling? You're not taking your meds. Hell, by this point in the house, she wasn't even using her fucking wheelchair. She was just flat out walking around. So it's like, and I'm not trying to be mean, but if Gypsy ran, there's nothing Dee Dee could really have done, because I'm pretty sure Gypsy would have been faster than her mother, especially with her injury with her foot. So, but Gypsy started planning her mom's death, but she knew she had to hurry it up when she saw the papers of power of attorney. And so what the mother was trying to do was trying to say that her daughter was incompetent to make her own decisions because of her fake illnesses or whatever. And Gypsy knew that if that paper was signed, she knew running away, the cops would legally have to bring her back. Now, I have to say, Gypsy was a smart bitch. Because I don't consider myself, stupid. But the power of attorney, I didn't even think about the part where, if she tried to run away, the cops would legally have to bring her back. But Gypsy did. And that's my point. She was not stupid. And I swear to God, I'm going to say it now. From when Dan told her that he was on parole, the moment Gypsy got home and Googled what parole is, I swear to God, I think that was the beginning of her criminal research, if you want to put it nicely. Abso-fucking-lutely. She figured all that shit out. So, anyway, Gypsy knew that this power of attorney paperwork could not be signed, and the paper actually stated that she was mentally challenged. So she knew her mother was going to go all the way with this one, and if those papers were signed, Dee Dee would collect benefits for the rest of their lives. So, Gypsy admits, listen up, you trolls. Gypsy admits it was her idea and plan. And the whole thing started with, I will protect you from anyone. I will save you. And Gypsy's like, from anyone? And Nick is like, from anyone? And Gypsy said, even my mother. And Nick is like, even your mother. And then, what do you know? Boom. The plan begins. So Gypsy alleged that after all of this took place, that Nick started fantasizing about murder, rape, and true crime. Gypsy didn't know it existed in him wasn't all there, right? But out of everyone you could have picked, he picked a 500-year-old vampire. And if you are a vampire, you kill to survive because you suck blood. I don't know. It's one of those, you know, I don't know. And then he goes to say that Victor loves to kill and that Victor will kill your mom. Again, I don't know. Y'all can take that as you want it. Gypsy believed that he was capable of doing everything that he said. And so he sort of directed me into research on ways to commit murder. Could you imagine you're sitting in your room Googling ways to kill your mother? Like, you're sitting up there smiling and eating snacks, talking about, okay, well, what about poison? Well, where are you gonna get it? Good point. What about arson? Too messy. What about a gun? Nah, too loud, because you know what? Your neighbors will hear it. Then they both settled on a knife that she stole from Walmart. So, what made you steal a knife from Walmart? Because here's the thing, you live at home, and I'm pretty sure you had more than one knife. So what made you buy this big ass knife the last time you were at Walmart? Are we still doing the she was fearful thing? Just asking. Okay. And then, you know, she kept flip-flopping, you know. I was just this scared little girl. Oh my God, my light just went out. I can see. Damn, okay. Yeah, my ring light went out. So she kept trying to reference herself as this scared little girl. I can put this light on. Oh, damn. You know what? I don't have any power. That's why I'm in the dark. I don't have any fucking power. What the fuck? Anyway, let's just do this. So she kept referring to herself as this little scared little girl. See, you are trying to still do this whole illusion, like you're trying to get people to think that you are this little girl, but you're not. And even up until then, you were still trying to, you know. I actually have another little light here. And I am not cutting this off because, like, I don't want to edit anymore than I have to. So until this shit dies, we'll deal with this. So anyway. So she kept referring to herself as a scared little girl. No, you weren't. Trapped. Desperate. Absolutely. To get out of the situation. And I don't even consider her being trapped. Because, like, if you were able to hitchhike and I don't know about trapped. Desperate. Absolutely. But then, ladies and gentlemen, she said the following. I wish I had known there were people I can talk to and turn to for help. I almost broke my MacBook. I almost threw that shit against the wall. I damn sure did. Because, what'd you say? I wish I had known there were people I can talk to and turn to for help. Are we gonna ignore the fact that we had CPS come to the house? Are we going to ignore the fact that two doctors tried to help you? Are we gonna ignore the informed Gypsy that Victor had they stayed together. Victor, the 500-year-old vampire, had certain rituals that had to be done. If they had a daughter, upon her 13th birthday, he would take her virginity. After that discussion, she dumped him. So, what? So he tells you if you have a daughter on her 13th birthday, he would have to take her virginity. That freaked you out, and then you dumped him, right? But then 2 days later, you're back with him because Nick is like, that wasn't me, that was Victor, that wasn't me, I would never. And she took him back, and I'm gonna be honest, I feel as if she took him back because she knew he was the only one that would go through this whole fucking plan. She knew. So the plan was back on. They chose a date. Gypsy steals money from her mom's wallet again, gets Nick a prepaid debit card. How did she do that? But she did. And so Nick starts to travel. The plan was for him from wherever he lives to travel to where Gypsy was. This next part was not revealed to the public, but it was revealed to her attorneys and everything else, and I think this was probably the most disturbing part of it all. Gypsy made a walkthrough video, right, of her entire house so Nick could study it. So again, she did a walkthrough of her house from the front door, from the back door, and showed him everything. So Nick would know where everything is, even in the dark. Then when she got into Dee Dee's room, well, their room I should say, she showed the bed, and then she showed which side her mother slept on. And then when she showed which side, she did the motion like this. You see her going like this in the video. What the fuck? What? This, like, showing her, and she's recording, saying, basically, my mom be staying here, and this is where you would, Nope, that was creepy. And then you hear her giggling in the video, and then of course, she justifies all this by being high. And that which I can understand with the medication and the pain pills and stuff, she had a disconnect with reality. The whole thing is fucking disturbing. Day of the murder, June 15th, she wakes up next to her mother. Got the text from Nick that he was on the bus. Yeah, she got the text that Nick got on the bus. Then that night, they both decided that they were gonna watch a movie. They picked out a movie together, and then Nick tells her that you should tell your mom that you love her and give her a hug. So Gypsy did that, and of course, Dee Dee's like, what the hell is that for? I'm not dead yet. How ironic. By the way, she also tells Nick that he does not have to wear any gloves because they were going to throw the knife in the river anyway. I believe that Gypsy was smarter than that. She did not want Nick to wear any gloves, so only his fingerprints and stuff could be around. She wasn't stupid. Gypsy was not stupid. Absolutely, she knew damn well what she was doing. Don't wear any gloves. I can't. Anyway, they watched a movie. They go to bed. 2 hours later, Nick texts that he was at the hotel. She texts, "You sleep." Nick takes a cab. He arrives, tells her to get your fucking ass in the bathroom. This bitch is dead. She gets in the bathroom, shuts the door, falls to the floor, and covers her ears. She still hears moms through, covering her ears. She hears screaming and fighting, and then silence. Then she uncovered her ears because she thought it was over. Then Gypsy hears her mom cry for help. Gypsy, help me. Gypsy, help me. And this is where she's fake crying again. All I hear is my mom saying, Gypsy, help me, help me. And then she starts to fake cry again. If she did this shit one more time, I was going to fucking lose it. Then she says she wanted to help, but did not. She did absolutely nothing. There was more screaming, then one more louder scream, and then it was over. Then we have more fake tears. She wished she stopped it. Then we have more fake tears, and then nothing. So this part, my facts were wrong about it. So there has been speculation that Nick actually R'd Gypsy. And she said since Gypsy would allow him to R her mom after the death, he had to R her and demanded she takes off her clothes. Then she made a comment, right? And I just said, oh, this is when I was like, okay, world. And Ryan, her husband Ryan, you better be careful. She says, why keep me in here? Look at all I've been through. Me staying in prison won't bring my mother back. This bitch did not smirk. She had a straight, cold face. She was dead ass. And the look in her eyes, it was emotionless. It looked like a sociopath. I'm telling you, the way she said, why keep me in here? Look at all I've been through. Me staying in here won't bring my mother back. And then she said, with the head nod, just straight face, nothing. Creepy. So anyway, back to the murder. So, since Gypsy would not allow Nick to R the mom, he claims he had to R Gypsy, told her to take her clothes off, then he told her to take all those stuffed animals off her bed. Then, according to her, he told her, I'm going to have sex with you now. So it's weird, like one minute he was going to R her, and next minute he's telling her step by step by step. I don't know. But like always, when someone tells you to stop, you should stop. Gypsy claimed she yelled stop. He did not. And then she said she called for her mother. She started screaming out for her mother. And I have to say, this was probably like the only time that I saw Gypsy actually choke up. She did. She actually choked up. And I can actually turn this off now because this is giving off more light. Yeah, that would work. Bring it just like that. Yeah. And so, this is the only time that I actually saw emotion in her. So she actually choked up. She caught herself. And that's when I said to myself, that story, that part was absolutely true. Now, whether she was Gypsy's round trip ticket, but Gypsy had to buy a ticket, and so because the bus was filled, they had to wait 2 nights. So they go back to the hotel for 2 days until it's time to leave. So when they went back to the hotel, this is where she admits that although she killed her mother, she really loved being with Nick. She admitted that she loved being with him. So 1 minute you're screaming out for your mom because it's R-ing you, right? Next minute you're disgusted, but now it's like, I don't know, you love being with Nick. Then she said they decided to order pizza, and they thought it was funny to make a porn video with pizza, call it pizza porn, and they laughed, and she laughed. So again, I'm just so confused at this prompt moment with Gypsy's emotions. I don't know. Then she picks up her phone and she starts recording. She's all up in Nick's face saying, yeah, he's eating, I don't know what it was, pizza or a snack, whatever. She's like, yeah, he's eating pizza, and guess what? He'll be eating me later. So, again, I don't know if I believe the R situation, because if you're screaming out for your mother, again, like I said, she choked up, but I don't know for the right reason. And so if you were just R'd by somebody, would you be making a video talking about let's make pizza porn, and then in another video you're talking about, oh yeah, he's eating pizza, but later he'll be eating me? Like, I just don't see it. I just don't get it. And then this videotape of them outside the hotel room. So again, I just don't get it. And that video is damning. They are smiling and laughing, and Gypsy does not look like to be stressed. She does not look like someone who feels guilty. She does not look like it. It just was weird. It's just very weird. That's not how you act if someone is assaulting you or something. You don't go ahead and make pizza porn willingly, and then you don't sit there and let the world know that you are excited that he's going to be eating you later. You see, it's weird. It's fucking weird. So then she, admits that she's going back and forth between happy and grief. So when they finally, the next day, they hop on the bus. Well, 2 days later, they hop on the bus. She has $5,000 worth of cash in her pocketbook from when she stole from her mom. They get to Nick's house. They make up a lie stating that Gypsy's mom kicked out Gypsy and that she had nowhere to go, and that she was staying with them for a few days. So their parents seemed cool with that, and that was that. When she got to her room, though, she realized it's not what she all thought it would be. She realized that he was not independent, that he had a wrestling comforter. He was a 15-year-old. Well, he was 20-something-year-old, but his room looked like he was 15 years old, and she was completely turned off. How ironic, because your room was full of teddy bears, costumes, wigs, Disney shit, and here you are making fun of him when you were pretending to act like him. Isn't that fucked up? This is when she realized that she fucked up. And at the end of this episode, towards the end, it flashed up that Nick, they made it a point to say this, and I'm glad they did, Nick was never charged with sexual assault. Never. And so, I don't know what to believe with that one. You guys can let me know down below. she wanted Dee Dee to be found. So she decided to write a Facebook post on an account that Dee Dee and Gypsy both shared, and she wrote, "The bitch is dead." Then of course people were like, what? Oh my god, what's happening? And then of course people thought that the Facebook was being hacked. Gypsy later let everyone know that it was not hacked at all. Then in her second post she wrote, "I fucking slashed that fucking pig." Excuse me, that's not what she wrote. She wrote, "I fucking slashed that fat pig." Excuse me. And Ard, her sweet innocent daughter too. Her scream was so fucking loud. Laugh out loud. Now see, here she's writing this Facebook post like she's the killer, right? And so here you are writing something that Nick just said when he came into the house. This bitch is dead. So you're doing the same thing that Nick just said. So now you're acting like somebody. You see where we're the way she's thinking. She's already setting hers. I can't. I don't. Whatever. So of course this alarmed people. They went. Someone called the police. The police got involved because of the Facebook post, and then they went to the house, and that's when they found Dee Dee. They also saw the wheelchair and thought that Gypsy was kidnapped. So, and that ends episode 4. Episode 5 is called Secret Engagement, and I am still in the dark. I can't believe I don't have any fucking power, and the problem with this situation is I have to charge my phone. Let me find out. I'm gonna have to go to my car. Oh. Anyway, so episode 5, this is where we meet Ryan, and if I'm being honest, overall I have nothing bad to say about Ryan. You know, the only thing I'm questioning is why was he in such a rush to marry Gypsy? I don't understand why he just didn't wait for her to come out. And you know, yeah, you can date her, but why are we rushing to get married? That's the only thing I would have to question with Ryan. I don't know, the more I'm seeing Ryan out on these social medias, the less I'm deciding to stay quiet. That's that. What else? Let's see. So Ryan, if you don't know, Ryan is Gypsy's husband. He is a 6th grade teacher. Actually, he's a social study teacher for the 6th grade. They were talking or writing or whatever for a year and 2 months before they met. This is where Gypsy lets us know that 250 men had wrote to her in prison. So how did Ryan actually meet Gypsy? Well, he said he saw her story on the news and he thought she was cute. Then one day him and his friend were having a bet or something, and his friend was like, "Oh, I want to write Tiger King," and he's like, "Well, if you write Tiger King, I will write Gypsy Rose," and they both did it, and boom, here we are. So back to the crime. And so so now this whole crime is on TV, and people are putting 2 and 2 together. They realize that this is the mother and daughter duo that the charities and everything have been donating to. Dee Dee also had multiple stab wounds to her back, so she was stabbed in realize that Gypsy is very, very smart. And yeah, she learned a lot from her mother. When I say she tried to manipulate this entire interrogation, it wasn't working. So she played, the innocent child, like, oh my god, why am I here? Oh my god, thank you so much. Didn't work with the baby voice. And then the cop went right into, well, your mother's dead. And this was good, y'all. She was like, wait. I'm sorry. What'd you say? Oh my god. Y'all, she went right. She needs the award for Best Actress. I kid you not. And so, like she said, in her mind, she said to herself, nah, these cops can't figure this shit out. This story is too complicated. They're not gonna figure everything out. But, all in all, the crying, the no, acting like, oh my god, I can't breathe. The cop was having none of it. He wasn't buying any of it. He said, stop it. Just stop. Like, he didn't even let her go any further. He said, the funny thing is that she was gonna play this innocent role because she thought that Nick was gonna stick to the plan, and that plan was to say they knew nothing, that Gypsy's mother kicked her out, and that's all they knew. So she thought that playing this dumb, innocent, scared little girl was gonna work. It absolutely did not. Their plan fell apart before it even began. Nick, in the other room, is spilling the beans. Oh, he is talking and giving details and talking. There was no lying going on here. It was not. But I think what was sad about Nick's interrogation was that, when they asked him, do you love Gypsy? He was like, oh yeah. Like, the deep love he had for her. He even went into, they've been together for, all these years. It's just sad that he really, truly thought, whether it was fucked up or not, he really thought that she was in a bad situation and that he just wanted to be with her. And coming off that, I just felt so bad for Nick. Nick is also disturbed. Let's not get that shit twisted. But it's just sad that she knew all of this and she just, the same way you were able to pull that trigger when that gun was on the table, you could have did this shit yourself. And poor Nick would have still been in his little attic playing with his wrestling comforter and everything else. He would have been perfectly happy. He would have murdered nobody. He would have continued playing Victor in his bedroom. That's why that shit was so sad. And even the officer said that detective said it's really weird for someone to commit a big murder like this and then let everybody know about it. Like, he did not hold back at all. So of course, Gypsy broke down and told a story. She told a story. She admitted stuff, but of course and nobody knew what was going on. The day that she went to trial, her first court appearance, when Gypsy walked in, everyone gasped like, oh my God, she was no longer this sick little girl. She was a grown ass woman walking into court. Crazy, right? The case is now very, very complicated. What is true and not true? Again, if Gypsy just said she snapped, I think everybody would have taken that and, and then of course, she told her family that everything was Nick. She didn't know, blah, blah, blah. When the police also stated that when they were at the house, they have down that Dee Dee was a hoarder. It was a mess. It was full of medical equipment and medication. Of course, once the family saw the house, everyone now has regrets. People wish they did more. The father wished he did more. The stepmom. In court, that's when they let everybody know about the walkthrough video. The stabbing motion, like standing over the bed. Everyone said that was hard to watch. I mean, it was like when you listen to all the text messages and know about this walkthrough video, it is very hard to wrap your brain around this, because now you realize how planned this whole thing was. It was crazy. And then after, now they're showing the walkthrough of the with the phone and everything else. Now the family realized that Gypsy lied again. You're sitting here saying you don't know anything, but yet they're showing the video that you recorded of the walkthrough to the house, and then we're seeing recordings of you going to the hotel and you telling the world that he's gonna eat you later and shit like that. It's like, girl, bye. What? But I do have to say though that I did feel bad, like when Gypsy actually looked over to her parents, or her family, I should say, excuse me, when they found out her involvement. She did look over to them in fear of abandonment, and I have to say, as soon as she turned around and looked at her family, you can tell she was just like, please don't leave, I'm sorry. And at that moment, a little bit of emotion for me, sympathy came back a little bit, because at this moment, anyone going through all of this, because at the end of the day, she was a victim, right? But I don't like the playing the double victim part. Okay, you're already a victim, let's not play double victim. Like, people always leave me, and I wish I knew there was someone I can turn to. Again, you're already a victim, don't be a double victim, because see, now you're just pissing people off, right? But yeah, that fear of abandonment. And so, I can say she never really had that love from a family member, right? Look at your mother. Your father was gone all the time working. Your grandfather did some fucked up shit to you. So anyway, she got a plea deal, second-degree murder, 10 years. She said yes immediately, parole in 8. And it's so funny, because you remember I said back in the other video, she was like, well, why keep me here? It's not gonna bring my mom back. Then after she finds out that she got parole and all this bullshit or whatever, right? Then she wants to sit there and say that the state made the right decision for keeping me here for 8 years. But before you got your answer that you want, like an hour prior before you went to the hearing, it was like, let me out, there's no point in keeping me here. Now it's like they made the right decision. It's like the manipulation, and just the manipulation. she said that she would have been a mess if they let her out of prison. She wouldn't have the mental stability she has now. Well, you still don't, because you thought it was a good idea to get married instead of you just trying to figure out how to deal with life. And instead of getting therapy, you hopped on TikTok. Anyway, again, her testifying at Nick's trial, she admitted that it was her plan. She talked him into it. The shocking part of the trial was definitely the text messages, how planned and prepared they were. Again, she tried to deflect, but the evidence proved otherwise. Yeah, saying that, she was scared of Nick, and she was scared of this, and scared of that. You can't say you're scared of somebody, but then willingly go to a hotel, then come back for 2 more days and get on a bus with them and then go to her house. Like, you can't cry that. You can't say, certain things about your mother that you were fearful and this and that, but yet you weren't that fearful that if you can hop online, sneak out the house. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So it's like, we get that you are a victim, what happened to you, it's fucked up, but it doesn't justify this murder here. And then she wants to sit there and tell the world that she has told 100% the truth. Say what? Okay. Nick, first-degree murder, life sentence. Now, I also do not agree with that, because they were both just as calculated, and they both, planned and prepared this murder, right? And so, although Nick did the actual killing, that doesn't mean anything. Again, Charles Manson didn't kill anyone but got first-degree murder. So what we're not gonna do is act like that, how do you go from like 8 to 10 years to life in prison, right? So I feel as if maybe Nick should get a little bit more time, right? So if Gypsy got 10, maybe he should get 15, right? You see where I'm going with this? But life in prison, absolutely not. And secondly, I think out of both of them, Nick definitely needs to be in a mental facility. That man needs help. Because if half the shit that they're saying is true, like what he wanted to do to the body, and he definitely has like this dark desire when it comes to sexual things, like the porn and McDonald's, and wanting to do certain things to Dee Dee's body, and so again, and then you thinking that you're a 500-year-old vampire. I don't think jail is the right place for him. I think a mental facility definitely would have been a better choice, in my opinion. Also too, Gypsy also lets us know that she received a letter from Nick after they both got their sentences, and he still admitted that he was still madly in love with her and would do anything for her and still would protect her, and that he still wants to be together, and that he does not regret what he did, right? Because in his eyes, he's thinking that he was saving, the love of his life, the one he's going to spend the rest of his time with, and that wasn't the case. And in his mind, Dee Dee was really fucking Gypsy up. But remember, 7 years, nothing happened in regards to procedures, medication, nothing. So for 7 years, Gypsy, although maybe she wasn't able to go outside freely, she was no longer doing this medical procedure. She was no longer doing taking any of the medications. was this dude that she was engaged to. That's what I'm saying. This girl got more action than I did in the outside world. But she was engaged to this guy, and she really liked this guy, and they were going like back and forth. But that guy could not deal with the public, and he was kind of ashamed of being with her and embarrassed. I don't know. They didn't work out. It seemed as if Ryan was just a backup plan. That wasn't her first choice. My opinion. I don't know. Ryan, this is interesting. Ryan admitted that Gypsy can get mean, nasty, verbally abusive, and can be flat out cruel. Who does that remind you of? Did she not get some tips from Dee Dee? Let me find out. And that Gypsy is very jealous. Yikes, those are the worst. The jealous ones, they'll be the ones in your fucking bushes and shit. And she loved to make Ryan jealous with other guys. Crazy thing is, Ryan knows all this and is going nowhere. So anyway, I think she was given a therapist upon release, and he also had concerns that she's not ready for this marriage, not ready for the real world, has no idea how cruel social media can be. Another thing, nobody actually knows who the fuck Ryan is. Again, nobody has a clue who the fuck Ryan is. Another one, they are not living a real world or reality. Like, you ever know someone in prison? It's not like, how do I say this? Prison and the real world is two different things. That's the best way I can put it. And a lot of people don't think they will last very long. And honestly, I don't think they were either. And if anyone's gonna fuck it up, it's gonna be Gypsy. Gypsy's already wondering if Ryan can fulfill her needs since she never dated. The other fiance, his name was Ken. She claims that was true love, but he couldn't handle the prison sentence. Who she was. Alright, keep it moving. She admitted that 12 days before marriage, she was still in love with Ken. She's admitting all of this to Ryan. Then Gypsy got caught in a lie, because I think when Ryan went to the prison, she asked him, he was like, when's the last time you heard from Ken? And she was like, oh my god, like months ago. But then she slipped up and said something like last week, and he's like, hold up, you told me you haven't heard from him. So anyway, so Gypsy's out here lying. Yep, Ryan, the second choice. Okay, next. Okay, so she made a comment, said at the end of this whole thing, she was like, at the end of the day, I am a murderer. Okay, but see, you say that in the documentary, right? But then on social media and during these interviews, you're letting people know why you are not a murderer, because you weren't the one who actually killed your mom. Remember, you asked the audience, did you forget that I'm not the one who actually killed my mom? So here you are stating that you are a murderer at the end of the day, but then you're telling us why you're not a murderer. So which one is it? Can we please keep the story straight? The manipulation is getting crazy. You out here on social media doing the fucking newlywed date. Why the newlywed game? Why? That's what we're doing. Again, anyone that gets released from prison and been through what she's been through, most people would go home and shut the fuck up. Most people would go home, try to live a quiet life. Most people would go home and try to get their life together. No, you out here, and it's so weird. She has so many videos on social media traveling and shopping, and it's just so weird to me. It really is, because any person who spends all this time in prison, are we praising them? No. So if we're gonna play this Gypsy game, then we need to play it for a lot of other criminals. Let's call that like it is. If we're accepting this shit, then we need to go back and accept a lot of people's shit. We need to get more people out of prison. If we're gonna rewrite the laws for Gypsy, then fuck it. We need to rewrite the laws for a lot more people. Hear what I'm saying? I can't. Ryan also admits that his first teaching job, they actually asked him to resign or leave because they felt as if him dating Gypsy was some type of, it wasn't safe for the children or the reputation or whatever. So he was asked to leave, but he did get another job. Blah blah blah. Then Gypsy and Ryan get married. She is now Gypsy Rose Anderson. Whatever. So I wrote here, overall, Ryan seems to be overall he seems to be, a good guy. But then 2 or 3 months later, reality starts setting in, and the honeymoon phase did not last. Ryan found out that another one of her exes that Gypsy happened to reach out to, and Ryan found out and let him know that he did not like that. Gypsy then called him controlling, like his mother. No, that's not controlling. That's like, you're my wife. Why are you entertaining other men? How is that controlling? That's what I'm saying. Like, I see her milking and using that shit for the rest of her life. She has adapted to everyone knowing her story, and she's playing into that. I am telling you, we are looking at a sociopath in the making, a psycho in the making. I don't know what you want to call it. A master manipulator in the making. But then again, she's not in the making because she was living with Dee Dee. I don't know. Anyway, Ryan found both of them therapists. They both started going. They haven't had an argument since. They're talking about having children, wants to live a simple life, quiet life. Listen, overall, I'm gonna say this now, and that's it. I'm done. What Gypsy went through was fucked up. Abso-fucking-lutely. She is a victim of child abuse, yes, but I still stand by what I say. Murder was not her only way out. It was not her only choice. She might have thought that it was her only way out, but it wasn't. And what kills me is you trolls are out here saying, well, it was her only way out. If Gypsy now is letting people know that that was not her only way out, why are you trolls still saying it? She's even saying now she could have reached out, she could have went on the internet. There's so many different things she could have done, and she is now admitting that. So why won't you trolls stop with this bullshit? She had another way out. And again, if she just said, I shot the bitch because I snapped, we all would not be having this conversation, because at the end of the day, when we looked at Gypsy's resume, we would have been like, well, why didn't you shoot the bitch earlier? But at least she would have done it. Now you have this agree. You did your time. You know, the judge, the state said 8 to 10. You served it. You're out. You told your story. You wrote your book. Shut the fuck up now. Shut up. Get off of social media. Focus on you. And if you want that family, go for it. But you know, there's so much healing that has to be done, and I don't see anyone talking about that. I'm hearing people, oh, live your best life. How are you gonna live your best life if you're still out here not taking accountability for what you've done? How are you supposed to grow if you're still not taking any accountability? And then if you notice when she's out with Ryan, anytime he talks too much, she's doing exactly what her mother was doing. Her mother used to always hold her hand, or they used to like lock arms, and anytime Gypsy would talk too much, Dee Dee would either squeeze her hand or, you know, give her a little nudge or whatever. She's doing the exact same thing to Ryan. If you look at those two during an interview, she's doing the same exact thing. Ryan is not talking much. You know why? Because there's no need for Ryan, because everyone is interested in how Gypsy's doing and how she's recuperating and recovering in therapy and all this stuff. Anyway, I'm getting off. I said enough. I am done with this whole Gypsy Rose situation. I wish her nothing but the best, but what we're not gonna do is sit here and glorify this situation. It's not good. It can be triggering